Hi, I'm Beth Trapani, and this is the first in a series of webisodes on the brain-body connection brought to you by Mission Healthy Living. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Dr. Missie Patschke, who's the principal at Upper Providence Elementary in the Springford School District, and Leslie Ruffo, who is a fourth grade teacher at Upper Providence. And Leslie, you are the parent of two children, and so you're here in two capacities today to talk to us about your life as a teacher and as a parent in the district. So thanks for joining us. All the research shows that children do better academically when they're more physically active. So, Dr. Patschke, let me start with you. Talk to us a little bit about your experience working with children and how that bears itself out.
Absolutely. The connection between the brain and the body is an untapped resource sometimes that we at Upper Providence have truly found it to have exponential gains with learning. Students that have movement incorporated into their day truly do better in not only their learning tasks, but their life tasks.
Can you tell me, in today's high-stakes testing age, how can you find time to fit more physical activity in? Because you have a million things to do with kids, there's not enough time to do it all, and now you want to try to add more physical activity as well.
Right. I think the answer I would ask you, how could we, knowing the research, knowing what we see, is how could you possibly not add more activity into classrooms? What we know is you have to put that trust up front, and what you get out of it is a higher product in the end.
Leslie, with your experience in the classroom, you see it every day. Tell us the difference between children who are encouraged and allowed to move on a regular basis versus kids who have to sit for 45 minutes, an hour, longer at a time.
The benefits with 9 and 10-year-olds, allowing them the opportunity to move, their attention span is only about 8 to 10 minutes if I'm lucky. So after every 8 to 10 minutes, it's really important to get them either up and moving or taking some type of fun little musical brain break to allow them to get the fidgets out and then refocus back in for the task. In the long run, when you set up those opportunities for brain breaks, you're going to get more out of them for longer periods of time if you take those little tiny breaks.
Tell us what one of those looks like.
A brain break could be, being that I have such a passion for teaching in general, I'm also a fitness instructor. And so I'll utilize, we'll do 10 wall sits, or we might do 10 air jacks. We might play a little bit of Simon Says, or get them up and moving. It's all physical oriented. Fun stuff right off the cuff where we can get them up out of their seats and play a quick little game. It maybe takes 2 minutes. And then when they sit back down, the refocus is amazing.
So some people might think, oh gosh, that gets them off task, but you feel it's actually the opposite.
Absolutely.
Do kids seem to respond differently when it comes to testing? Do you see a difference in Missy as well across the school with test scores?
No, I would say absolutely. Some of what Leslie and her colleagues do is prior to some of the state assessments, they'll do relaxation techniques, they'll do breathing, they'll have movement included, and they also coach students so that children in these classes understand the technique and why it's beneficial to them. My hope is that's where the life learning comes in, because they'll always know that these are techniques that are important for me as a learner.
Okay.
I know personally when you talk about high-stakes testing, kids are aware of high-stakes testing. The last thing we want them to do is become stressed. So the first thing you start to teach them is how to relax. Use a little yoga breathing. I know I use it every week, if not almost every other day in my classroom. Before we take a big test, I'll turn all the lights down, throw some yoga music on, and teach them how to breathe. At first it sounds sort of silly. We're going to learn how to breathe. We already know how to breathe. Well, when you really focus kids, take in oxygen and exhale and really start to get them aware of their breathing and pay attention to their body. And then you start to teach them when you get to that question that causes you to tense up and you're holding your breath and you find your shoulders in your ears, take a deep breath, come back to that moment. So as you teach kids that and how to listen to their body, they can then cope and understand how to use that in all their years of testing.
Terrific. All the research shows that schools that have really made an effort to incorporate physical activity have actually seen an increase in test scores. Leslie has obviously bought into this as a parent, a fitness instructor. How do you get all your teachers on board with this?
I can honestly say that I'm singing to the choir because my teachers came to me with this information. It first probably started to come into our school from personal teacher interest, taking courses outside of our school and walking in my office and saying, "Do you know about this? Or could I share with this at a faculty meeting?" And as soon as you look at it and you start to see it in action, it's a no-brainer. It's common sense, and the words "of course" just come out.
So it's really as little as a couple minutes a day?
Mm-hmm. Many times a day.
Many times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so breaking the day up for them so that they're not having to sit, or that the only physical activity they get is not just during gym class, for instance, or physical education.
Right, and keep in mind also it doesn't have to be big movement. It can be brain-oriented. For example, as soon as you force your brain, you go across your midline, you're putting your brain in another situation. You're connecting movement to learning. So it might be as simple as taking the class through an exercise where they have to do something different out of their box.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What do you suggest to parents, Leslie and Dr. Patschke, that to do at home, to encourage this kind of thing at home? I hear all the time from parents, all my child wants to do is sit on the couch or text, etc. How do we get them up moving outside?
First of all, you have to be a good role model. So if you're going to preach it to your kids, you have to do it yourself. So I know myself, it's an easy sell for my kids. Let's go, let's get out and walk, or let's throw some music on and dance in the kitchen. They're just easy little things that break up your day, and then that's fun that I can have. I'm a working mom, I'm busy trying to cook dinner, so we throw music on while we're cooking dinner. I can't really take credit for cooking dinner. While others are cooking dinner and I'm doing other things, you know, we're moving and doing what we need to do. If my kids get stressed on something at home as far as homework goes, I really do tell them, walk away from it, go upstairs, relax, lay down, take a couple deep breaths, and come back. You might be able to think more clearly through it. So for me, it's common language, and I do try to share that with my parents.
I love the idea of making it a family commitment, because that's really where the sustainability will be. Also, as a parent, when you're struggling with homework, these are great techniques to break it up, avoid frustration, and if you allow movement before a session, you may see a different result at the end.
Terrific. Well, clearly it's making a difference for you in your school.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Again, this is one of the missionhealthyliving.org webisodes, and it's sponsored by the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation. Thanks for joining us.